You're listening to the Feed Your Wild podcast, a conscious lifestyle show about all things nourishing for your body, mind, and soul. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, and join me for candid conversations with changemakers, exploring health and wellness, food as medicine, intuition and spirituality, and nature-based practices that will transform your health and feed all parts of your wild self. Well, hello there. Welcome back to Feed Your Wild podcast. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez, your intuitive nourishment guide today. And today we got a biggie mini moon musing. I say biggie because today we're looking at a blood moon, a total lunar eclipse, and all in the sign of Scorpio. Juicy, 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 and super powerful. So let's get into the energies of what's going on around this eclipse, this full blood moon, and the window, the period of time that it affects before and after. Before we do, I thought I'd share just some personal updates of what's been going on in my world and how I'm feeling it's relating to the astrological forecast and cosmoscape, if you will. Here in Southern Oregon, it definitely is emerging into spring. Spring feels are here, but it's kind of like this stop-go feel. We had some pretty cold weather come in and even had some snow and hail in these parts. All the while, the beautiful spring wildflowers still popping up. Some of my favorites in this area, including shooting star, pedicularis, wild iris now popping up, Oregon grape flowers too, which actually, we'll come back to Oregon grape later when we talk about this moon. So, and of course, dandelion, all the signs of spring a-comin', despite some of the challenging weather patterns that are coming our way, and some much needed rain that's been coming through. So definitely gratitude for that, even if I simultaneously am wanting to prance around in the field in the sun on a beautiful sunny spring day. I am very grateful for the water that's come through because of some droughts that we've been experiencing and some scary water patterns in this area. And I know that's true of a lot of areas in the West and around the world. So yeah, right now it's cold and wet and that damp stagnation pattern that we can see with Scorpio and the influences of Scorpio, which again, I will touch on in a moment. I feel like my family, my little family, my partner and my little baby and I are finally finding rhythms that we can root into, although from what I hear from every family and mama is that once you establish a rhythm, things change because the kids grow. And so there's this ever persistent process of surrendering and letting go and finding anew. So right now, it feels good to have some of these patterns, like his sleeping and napping patterns, finally finding some regularity. And my patterns of coming back to work. I never intended to come back in total full swing, and that definitely has not been the case. But I am feeling much more energized and roominess for me to show up in my workspace. Something that I've shared on the podcast for some time now is my experience of time and how plans and time are totally not linear these days for the past few years. And it's something that is very challenging to navigate if you're really stuck on or attached to the world that says that things have to be on a schedule and, the 5 and 10-year plan. Not that I was ever good at those things, but there definitely has been a palpable shift where I literally cannot plan things beyond 3 months from now. I mean, I can't even plan things beyond 2 weeks from now because guaranteed they will shift and change, or something will come in and bring in a twist. So I'm learning to ride those waves, to let spirit and my highest self guide me and lead me forward, and really to feel into what it is to be more of an instrument here as a human, to be fully present to the experience of being human, and also just letting go of that driver's seat wheel. And it's not to say that I'm letting go completely of having a say in what happens in my life, or, having dreams and goals and plans and having that drive to do things, to take action and to move toward my goals. But rather, it's more like plugging those coordinates into a GPS system that is connected to my intuition and to my field and my soul path and my guides, my family constellations, if you will, etc., etc. And then to allow this vehicle of my body to be guided instead of thinking that I know the best route to my destination, or that I even know the best destination. So really a different way of operating this body, of being here in this human experience. And, my mind always coming in with the to-dos and the schedules and the worries and all of that. And so it's been a constant process of coming back to the body, coming back to center. I definitely, as a new mom and lack of sleep and all of these shifting patterns and, the not being able to work as much as I would like to or need to, if I'm being honest, it can be a bit jarring, destabilizing, especially when my little one is not feeling well or being very vocal. I'm finding myself sometimes losing my step, getting off center, and it's been pretty hilarious because over the past, I would say, like month or 2 months, every time that happens, I get a message from spirit through numbers. It's comical how often when I'm feeling off center, I maybe say something out loud, or I have an experience of thinking that I want something different that's taking me out of the actual experience of the present moment, and seeing in what you would call an angel number. So it's like a sequence of numbers that's familiar to you, or it's repetitive. So 111 would be an example. I have shared previously in the last episode that my mom shows up with 110. That's sort of her signifying number. And so it's been pretty funny because I guess it's happening a lot where I'm getting off center and needing to come back, because I have been seeing all the numbers like 555, 444, 333, 222. It's just like over and over constantly. And so I know that my guides are here. My highest self is tapped in. I'm always being held and being guided. And I just need to drop into that place of trust, that place of presence, and that place of breath. So I just wanted to share that because it's been really amplified this week, and I thought that some of you might resonate with that experience. And maybe it's not the numbers for you. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's another sign that pops in. And so just building relationship with those things and tuning into what they mean for you. It may mean something different for you. But what I have typically seen for myself and for my loved ones and clients is that there's always a message behind those. And it most typically has to do with coming back to your body, becoming centered, and listening to that very often quiet inner voice that we all have, and hear what it's telling you, because that inner voice is not only our true selves, but that's also the way that spirit and our guides speak to us, is through that inner voice. It sounds like our own voice. So I invite you this week, today especially on this eclipse, to be present with all of that and see how it shows up in your life and life experience. I'm also pretty pumped about my new upcoming group mentorship program, which I have talked about the past few episodes. And if you're not on my email list and you want to learn more about this stuff and also learn about other things that I don't share on the podcast, I highly recommend signing up for my newsletter and email list. I only really send out emails when I release a podcast episode, or if I'm opening up doors to something and there's like a pre-sale, like what's going on right now. And of course, I don't spam. I respect your inbox. I understand we receive 1 trillion emails a day now. So if you are interested, then go ahead and go to wildlyrooted.com/subscribe, or you can click the button subscribe link in the show notes. I typically have one there so that we can stay in touch. But I am just really vibing on this group mentorship program, the Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway, that will be opening up in June. There's so much there that I'm being guided by spirit to really dive into and to share, to call this beautiful cohort of practitioners and healers from all levels of experience who are really ready to come out of the so-called spiritual closet, to connect to and expand your intuitive gifts, and to step into what your next level or place in your path as a healer, as someone who is here to be of service to others and to the world. It's an application process because I want to make sure that this container is calling in folks that are really in alignment with one another, and that this program is in alignment for you. I'm not trying to sell someone on this if it's not a good fit, right? So there's an application that you can fill out if you are interested, and you'll learn more of the super high level stuff about the program in terms of details on the application page. And then I'm going to open up and release a longer format information page in June for this program once we reopen up the doors. But right now we have the pre-sale going on, and you'll save $1,000 with this pre-sale if you snag your spot now. Pre-sale doors close today. Today is the last day to get access to that special pricing. Once you apply, I'll be in contact with you personally, directly, and share a little bit more about the pricing structure, about the scheduling, and more details about the program. And I just have to say that so far, I am blown away by those of you that have applied. I'm taking my time, going through all of these incredible applications. And I am just, first, so honored that you all listen to this podcast and are connected to me now in some way, but that there's the potential for us to journey together and support one another in this community coven of healers and practitioners. It's so, so beautiful. So I'm really stoked on that. And I also have previous clients that I've worked with that are stepping into this, and my, oh my, they are just incredible. I just see this community coming together and, doing healing swaps and supporting each other through breaking through blocks and growing into expanded versions of ourselves, being witnessed in that. It really is ceremony, and I am very honored to just hold this container and to provide guidance that comes through intuitively with the Akashic records, your guides, and also through my own experience and the teachers that we will also be bringing in. So with all that said, if you're interested, go check out today's the last day to snag a spot. All you have to do is apply to snag your spot in the pre-sale, and then we'll be in touch more about that before doors open officially again in June. You could go to wildlyrooted.com/WIP. That's WIPP, stands for Wildly Intuitive Practitioner Pathway. Or click the link that's in the show notes. And I will be in touch with you soon. Okay, so let's get into this Scorpio Blood Moon Eclipse. It's rare and potent, and there's a lot of energy with this, not just for today, but the time periods leading up to now and going forward. I know I've mentioned this before, that these full moon eclipses, the lunar eclipses, are like very big full moons. They carry this energy of things coming to a head, the end of a chapter, so to speak. So endings, closures, completions. And this moon being in the emotional watery sign of Scorpio, this could be a game changer for your unfolding, for your path. Scorpio carries this super transformative energy, right? Scorpio energy. I've also mentioned this before, and I've learned this from some astrologer friends, connected to the phoenix. The phoenix is that firebird that has arisen from ashes. So this ability to not just the closing of a chapter, but literally this type of rebirth from the shedding of layers and moving into a deeper connection to your authenticity, who you are, and that being expressed and coming out. So the phoenix rising, that birth from the ashes of the previous death, and that this type of transition transmutation really can be highlighted under this beautiful blood moon eclipse. Of course, not only are we typically feeling more deeply in general during eclipses, but with Scorpio and play too, Scorpio is that deeply emotional, watery sign that's not afraid to feel the depths of sometimes that darkness, sometimes that heaviness. Highly sensitive, highly psychic. So this is a time to really pay attention to your intuition, to that inner voice that I was talking about, to build discernment around your inner voices. Which ones are in alignment? Which ones feel like they're for your highest good? Because some of these voices that we carry are not our own. We may have had sort of nagging feelings that won't go away, even if our mind tries to distract us or gives us excuses or an argument for things unfolding the way they are, but yet you can't shake off a certain feeling. This is the time to really connect to those and allow them to speak to you. What are they trying to tell you? What are they trying to say? Mercury is also in retrograde in this eclipse, so we might feel a little bit off, maybe, of course, in our communications. Things might be a little bit shaky or tricky. We might feel foggy, maybe a little confused. Weird things might be happening. Of course, not just today, but sort of around this time period. So leading up to this and going forward. And with all of that, with all of these, any retrograde really, it's a time to do some reassessment. All the re's. So take this time to move slowly and reassess. Again, the things that are being brought up to light through your intuition, through your emotions and your feelings. What wants to leave and what wants to come through. There's also Venus and Chiron at play here. So Chiron is our wounded healer, and they will be in alignment, Venus and Chiron. So this combo can feel very healing. It could be purifying and healing in this very deep way on finding closure in the wounds that we've been experiencing or have experienced. So it could be a very healing time as well. Also at play in this time is Jupiter having moved into Aries. So just as a quick background, Jupiter has been in Pisces and just recently moved from Pisces to the sign of Aries on May 11th. Now, one of my teachers, astrological teachers, says that astrology is really based on mathematics. And so in that sense, it's based on waves of probabilities. We must see them as a process, not as some sort of fixed configuration. In that way, we see the wave of Jupiter in Pisces. So this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that we've talked about, it's this very much yin energy, internalized energy, having to do with our spiritual upgrade. We've talked about this before, becoming more attuned, highly sensitive, psychic, dreams, all that stuff. The veil is thinner. We are feeling that. And now Jupiter moving into Aries on May 11th, 0 degree of Aries, it's this fresh energy. So remember that Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, the beginning of the year. And anything at 0 degrees of a cardinal sign, so Aries is considered what's called a cardinal sign. This has the potential to, whatever happens, has the potential to do so in front of the public, so on the public stage. Jupiter going into Aries can really be helpful in getting you to step into your power, to feel into that courage, that bravery, and to find your strength and resilience. Jupiter and Uranus are both about truth and freedom and future, and all of this is at play. So I want to just mention that as the background in this wave that we're riding right now, along with this blood moon eclipse in Scorpio. So as you can see, there is a lot of potential for big change, for big transmutation. Now, let's take a little bit deeper look into Scorpio, because I think this could be helpful for us to understand what might be going on in our own lives. And of course, I always recommend to look at your birth chart, work with an astrologer to get a deeper sense of these patterns and how it applies to your specific life. When we look at this astrology from a medical astrology perspective, Scorpio is connected to the body systems of the genitals, the groin area, and the digestive system, the colon, the rectum, the sphincter. When we're looking at the reproductive system, it's the uterus, the cervix, the sex organs in general, also the pelvis, your coccyx bone. The sacral and root chakras are really activated here. When we see imbalances, Scorpio as a watery sign, the tissue state that can be connected here is damp stagnation. So we typically see this with, for example, a wet cough pneumonia or a mucousy digestive system. There is dampness there and there's stagnation. There's not a lot of movement. So we want to bring in some movement. We want to bring in some heat or dryness to counteract that damp stagnation. When we see imbalances in diseases, there can be imbalances of the womb related to Scorpio, and reproductive organ imbalances in general. We can see irregular or painful menses, and also issues with bladder and colon. So these are our organs of release. This is the so-called final destination for a lot of what we've processed, what we've digested, what has gestated. The cervix, as an example, the rectum, that urogenital system, these are openings, but they're openings for release, for birthing, for excretion. Again, that sort of birth, rebirth, that death cycle. So for some of us, we may experience some amplification of issues in that area if we have issues in those areas. Of course, with medical astrology, nothing is really fatalistic. It's not like if you have something in your chart, it's absolutely going to happen. Remember, it's waves of probabilities and possibilities. It's just important to know what your predispositions are, though, and what the potential imbalances can be. And if you are experiencing these things more amplified in this time, this could be a reason why. Some of the ways that we can work with these imbalances, with an imbalanced or a weakened Scorpio moon, we can bring in, again, warming foods and herbs, detoxifying foods and herbs, things that promote elimination. movement. This can also be doing activities that are detoxifying, that are warming, physical detoxification. Emotional detoxification is also really important here because of the nature of this particular moon and eclipse. So what could that look like? That can look like journaling things out, going to therapy, screaming at the top of your lungs in a forest or in your car into a pillow. How can you release some of these emotions that have bubbled up and are ready to be expressed and excreted from your body? There's also various energetic practices that can be really helpful in this time. One that I really enjoy and find very efficacious is the emotion code. You can just Google that. There's a whole method modality using muscle testing and ways of moving emotions through the energetic body and the physical body. There's also somatic practices, and that's actually something that I myself am moving more into these days. I have done a lot of work with energy, and I continue to do so always. So tending to my energy body and my physical body via those modalities. But I'm getting guidance that the next step for me is really to move into somatic awareness and somatic based therapies and practices. I have several episodes where we go into that and speak to experts on those topics. One place that if you're interested and you're kind of getting the, pay attention here because this sounds like it might be for me, go check out somaticexperiencing.com or just Google somatic experiencing. And you can learn more and find practitioners that are trained in these types of practices. Somatic experiencing was developed by Peter Levine, and it is a combination of a lot of different sciences and healing practices and medical biophysics for trauma healing. There's some great resources there as well as books that he has written, and you can find a practitioner through a Somatic Experiencing International website. I believe the actual website might be traumahealing.org. So you can check that out for yourself if this is calling to you. But again, coming back to the emotional detoxification, this is a wonderful time and portal to give yourself that space to do this very important and deep work. If any of the body parts that I had mentioned before are lighting up for you, or you're having some challenges in these areas, then I encourage you to start working with practitioners that are focused in on those areas, but in a way that is truly holistic, because there's so much that is held in those spaces energetically, spiritually, that just addressing them at the physical level would not fully do it justice. I know there's a lot of womb healers and practitioners and healers focused on the cervix even specifically. So get curious about that. Start to, if your body has been pointing you in that direction, start to take steps in this time toward healing these areas that are calling your attention. In terms of herbs that we can work with connected to Scorpio and some challenges that I had mentioned. So looking at the digestive system and the colon in particular, wormwood can be really beautiful. Now, wormwood is an anti-parasitic if we're looking at it more from that perspective. So it has a cleansing effect in those dark, damp, stagnant spaces. When we're looking at plant allies for the womb, black cohosh, another one connected to Scorpio, is an amazing womb care ally for all stages of life. On the medical perspective, it's used as a hormone replacement therapy for menopause. It can help alleviate hot flashes and irritability. And it's also supportive for addressing PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I must say that anytime we're looking to start working with herbs for deeper healing, I highly recommend you do more of your own research and connect with an herbalist. Really work with somebody who understands these herbs and plants very deeply and how they might be supportive for you individually, because everybody is unique. What you got going on is yours. And so it's important to work with somebody who can see that and not just apply sort of this broad spectrum, take this herb for this symptom and it applies to everybody. We don't want to work in that way. And it's not that those herbs wouldn't be supportive for you. You just want to make sure that you're getting some deeper individualistic based recommendations. Of course, there are so many more plants and foods that can be supportive for all these different body systems, and for Scorpio in particular that I'd mentioned. I just wanted to point those out to get you started in getting curious about what might be helpful and supportive for you in this time. And maybe even just sitting with some of these herbs, not even taking them, just sort of sitting with them if you're able to, whether they're plants that you have access to that are alive in the outdoors, or getting some dried herbs that you can sit with in your own home and connect to them at an emotional and psychic level. It simply starts with a conversation, with a question. Everything is about relationship, right? Relationship building. So I invite you to do that with any medicine or modality that you might be interested in bringing into your life. So, coming back to the energetics of this full blood moon eclipse in Scorpio, take some time today if you can, but definitely this week, to see what wants to be released, what wants to be tended to. How are you feeling? Allow yourself that space to feel. I think that alone is so incredibly healing. You don't even need to bring in anything. If you can just cultivate an hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes of alone time and space. Breathe in deeply. Tune into your energy and emotional body and ask yourself, what wants to rise to the surface? What wants to be seen, to be danced with, to be moved? How can I support myself today, this week, this year? And based off of what arises, what actions might need to be taken to support what you just learned, what you just discovered? Maybe it's releasing a relationship. Maybe it's letting go of a pattern or habit that is not serving you. Maybe it's shifting your perspective on something, letting go of an old perspective that is causing you grief and harm. Maybe it's just having a big cry for seemingly no reason at all. You don't have to justify the emotions that you're feeling, those feelings that bubble up. So much of what we are processing and working through these days is very old, very deep, and a lot of it is not even our own. We've been called here to move and work through and transmute a lot of what our ancestors walked with, a lot of what has been carried intergenerationally, a lot of what you have been journeying with through all of your lives, your past lives. So it might not make cognitive sense, and that's okay. It doesn't have to. And I actually invite you to be with that and in that space of curiosity and just be like, isn't this interesting? I'm sobbing my ass off. And I don't have a quote justified reason why, but it feels really good and necessary and good medicine. Allow those waters to carry what is ready to be released. And you can replenish with water through teas, some beautiful blessed water. You can bless water yourself by thanking water and bringing in gratitude and carrying your love vibration into that water. There is science behind that, by the way. If your rational mind is starting to perk up, to bathe, to go into bodies of water, really allow water to be an ally with you in this time, especially with this Scorpio energy, and see what wants to move through you. And only then, when we have released, can we be aware of and see the things that really wanted to come through but just didn't have space. Again, with curiosity and with patience and love. This one is a biggie, and so I am sending you all of the love and the hugs and energetic hand holding from where I am, and excited for what's coming to be through these beautiful portals, these windows of opportunity that we have to work with these energetics of the cosmos outside and within our own bodies. Enjoy the rest of this moon time, this eclipse season, and our beloved Mercury retrograde season. And I will tune in with you in our next episode. Until then, be well. Hey there, I made something for you. One of the biggest challenges that I hear from people is that they are feeling stuck when it comes to their health. You're a smart, capable, and creative change maker, right? And you know what you should be doing for your health. So what gives? Well, it's not about willpower. And I wanted to create something that would help you to unlearn the things that are keeping you stuck so that you can get out of your own way and master the mindset of health. That's why I created Wildly Unstuck, where you'll learn the top 5 things that I have found to sabotage your health goals and what to do about them. You'll learn what it really takes to become committed and unstoppable when it comes to your health goals, and find the clarity you've been looking for so you know exactly what to do to get back into alignment. And I made it totally free. So if this is something that you want to dive into and create a vision and soul goals for your health and your life and bring your gifts to the world, because we know that we need it, then I invite you to join us in Wildly Unstuck. You can find that at wildlyrooted.com/unstuck. I'll see you on the other side.